Hey everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create this little flash quiz-like thing which I've called the 5-second quiz. I use this quite often at the end of a unit of study in teaching to review with my students, and I would just project this from the computer on the screen, make it nice and large so that everybody could see it, and we would sort of all do it together. And basically the idea is the teacher, usually I would run this, teacher would click there, and I get everyone ready, and I would click go, and it would count down from 5 to 0, 5-second quiz, and then it would reveal an answer. And then we could go on and do the next one. So I'll show you what would happen. Everyone's ready in the class, and I would click that, and they would read, 2 scientists that discovered double helix shape. And they just yell out the answers. And then they would check to see if they got it right. So let's try another one. Nitrogenous base that pairs up with guanine, and they'd yell out cytosine. Hopefully they have enough time for that. And they would do it. So this basically just goes through, I believe I've got 10 questions, and then it ends. And there's a replay button if you want to start it again. And this is the title of the type of quiz. It's a 5-second quiz, and this particular one deals with genetics, grade 12 genetics in this particular case, but you could make it for everything. In this spot, this is where the question appears. Let's just start it again so you can see where the question appears, and this spot is where the answer appears. And I've tried to make it a little bit colorful and put a couple of design elements, nothing too much. It's a very simple graphic, but the whole purpose, of course, is for the students to review whatever they're learning in class in an interactive, kind of enjoyable way. The coding can be a little bit weird at times, and of course, with all of my tutorials, I'm not an expert Flash coder. This is done in Actionscript 2. I just do stuff that works for me, and there may be shorter ways of doing this or better way of optimizing code, stuff that I don't know how to do, but it's never really been a problem for me, so I'm not particularly worried about it. If the thing works and it does what I want it to do, then I'm perfectly happy. All right, and the whole idea is for students to have some fun, so they're not really evaluating my code or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do my best to recreate this similar, but it won't be exactly like this, but similar enough so that if you wanted to, you could make something like this in Flash, and then once you've got it and you saved the file, so for example up here I've got 5-second quiz, once you've got that, you can switch it really quickly and change the questions and the answers, as you can see up here in my layers. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm coming over to a new file. I've called it 5-second quiz tutorial, and I'm set at 1280 by 720. I'm going to change this to 30 frames per second right off the bat, and all I've got in here is a reference image. I've got it on a layer. I've locked that layer so that I can come up and I can have a look at this without having to go back to the other file, which I will probably do sometimes as well. So we're going to make it look something like that. I'm going to start with the graphics, but at some point in doing the graphics, I'm going to have to jump into some of the code, and I'll have to refer back and see how I've done that. All right, so I'm going to get started, and I'm going to start drawing this part and the circle. All right, so I'm going to grab the rectangle tool, and I'm going to do this black and white, and actually, I might just start with the circle. Change my mind. I'll start with the circle. And I'm going to go for a stroke of 4. And I come up to a new layer. And draw myself a nice big circle in here. And let's have a look at how big that is. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I might have to make it a little bit smaller. We'll see. All right, so we've got that. And let me think about what I'm going to... All right, well, I've got this circle, and I'm actually going to just call this circle, convert it to a symbol, call it circle. And I'm going to go into this, and I'm going to create sort of that outer black rim that we see up here. And then we'll do the center part in a moment. So I'm going to copy this, paste it on the same layer is fine. I'm going to come in a little ways, something like that, and I'm going to fill that with black right there, and the rest of this should be filled with white. And then I may decide to grab that and change that to another color so it looks a little beveled like that. We'll see. So that's my inner circle right there. So I come into here, I've got the outer rim there. All right, and the white part, and then of course we're going to have to make the timer, and that's got a little bit of stuff going on with that. So I'll come up here and I'll just call that outer rim, and of course it includes that white part there. That's no problem. I'll come up to another layer though, and I'm going to go black and white. Am I going to do that, or I want it black? Yeah, I think I'm actually just going to make a black circle. I take that back. So I'll go ahead and make a black circle in here. This is going to be animated. So I'm going to start it off kind of small, and we'll center that up. And I'm going to be putting a bit of a rim on that. So I think the way I'll do that is I will actually put a stroke on here. I'll try that color. And that actually might be a decent size as well right there. Okay, I might just go with that. Now this is going to be my timer, and I'm just going to have a look at how I did the last one. All right, I'm going to come in here, and so that I saved that as a symbol, and then there's a bunch of different layers in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this timer, and I'm going to instance it as timer. I'm going to call it timer there. And before I get too far in this, I'm actually going to call this instance this as circle. All right, and I'm going to call it circle down here. Okay, so I'm going to come, so we've got the instance name there. Come in, I got the instance name on that, and that's the timer. Now I'm going to come into this, and this is where we're going to start doing some code as well. So now I've got the indent. And I actually did that, I guess, as another layer. If I just lock everything else up, I've got that. That's not important about that. The black circle, that's fine. But what I really want is this text here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to call this black circle. I'll call it black circle. I better do that on my layers as well because it gets very complicated quickly. All right, I'm going to come up and I'm going to put some text in here, and I do want impact. I want to say go, and I'll center that up. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to also put some other text down here. And this is going to be, I'm going to say go right there. And I'm also going to, I'll just copy this down a little bit and make it quite a bit smaller. I'll try 15. And I'm going to say here, click to play. And then we'll adjust the size of that. Okay, so I'm going to make that a bit smaller, and I guess I'm going to have to do this. That's not particularly what I wanted to do. Okay, so it looks something like that, and you know, it's very hard to see that at this size, but that is going to be animated and get somewhat bigger than that. In fact, that might even be a little bit too big. So do it like that. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to have some text there. And so we've got the circles, fine, the text is going to be animated, and we'll have some other stuff that's going to come up a little bit later on. So we'll get that going. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the top for the time being, and I'm going to create an actions layer, and I'm going to put a stop in here. Oops. And we're going to animate this, and we're going to go for, well, I got this as 17 seconds, so might as well go with that. All right, so, or 17 frames, sorry. F5 there. I'm going to drag this stop out to that point. And what I really want to do is I want to increase the size of both of these. All right. So I'm going to put keyframe in there. I'll do a motion tween. And out here, I'm going to drag these out to very close to the end. Maybe not quite that much. Let's just see if I make it a bit smaller, how that looks. Okay, let's give that a try. You can always adjust that. And I also want to rotate this clockwise, just automatically like that. So it'll go like this. Bang, right up to there. Okay, up to that size. Let's save that. Okay, so when we click on that, it's going to do that little animation. Now we could go ahead and give that a try as well. So we're going to say on press. I'll do it as an on press. This dot go to and play to, just to see how that's going to look. I don't think I need to worry about a release. It'll be like that. Okay. Now, one thing I am noticing that I don't particularly like is I'm not sure if maybe on this outer rim I may not want that stroke there. So let's try that again like that. Or maybe I want that stroke, but I don't want it for, maybe I'll make it 2. I'll try that. Okay, well, that's good. That's good enough for now. Yeah, great. That looks good. So this thing is also going to function, as I had said, as a timer. It's not just going to rotate. They're going to be able to click on this, and then it's going to count down. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come up to another layer, and I'm going to call this numbers, because I'm going to be putting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. Now I'm working at 30 frames per second, so every second, and this is the 5-second quiz, is going to be 30 frames. So I actually want to come out here to frame 30, and I want to start at this point, all right? Because it's going to be easy for me to add 30 to 30. I could do it to 27, but I'm not that good at math. So I'm going to put a keyframe in there, and at that point, I'm also going to, of course, have to get rid of the go. So I will, after it stops, I'm going to put that there. So I'm just going to be writing in my number here. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to have to be quite large. So let's try, I don't know, let's see if 70 works. Well, I'm going to be bigger than that. Bigger than that. I mean, I can just pull this out if I really want to, as long as it looks good. So I might do something like that. So 5 will show up at the first spot, and then we're going to go for 1 second. So that's 30 frames per second. So I'm going to come out to 60, put some frames, and at 60, I'm going to put a keyframe, and I'm going to change this to 4. And then I'm going to come out to 90, put a keyframe at 90, and that's now 3. Out to 120. And 2. Out to 150. That will be 1. And then out to 180. and that will be 0. And when that 0 shows up, I want a different color here. I want this to show up as red. So I'm going to put a keyframe there. And can I do this? Okay, so I've got it as a black circle because I did a tween, so, or a motion tween, yeah. So it saved. It sort of makes it like a symbol. So at this point, I'm just going to break it apart, and then I can go ahead and I can put in my red. Okay, so it would come along for 3, 2, 1, 0, bang. Okay, and stuff, of course, is going to have to happen at 0. We're going to have some code. So let me just see. I'll have to put in a label, and I've basically done the same thing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when we get back to here, the black circle turns to red, as I've shown you, and the number says 0. And then I've got some text on here that says click to play, because at this point, we're going to display the answer, and they're going to want to go on to the next one, and they're going to click this, and it's going to start it again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write in that click to play part. And it's possible, whoops, that I can just take that from here. I'm not sure if I can. Let's see. If I come out here, oh, I went a little bit too far, didn't I? Oh, I'm supposed to be in the timer. Where am I? There, I'm just a little bit too far out there. Okay, so just deciding where I want to be putting this. I'm going to put it right here. Jeez, what have I done? What have I done? You know what? I'm just going to write it. Oops, not there. Click to play. Yeah, I suppose I could have just added on that layer. No reason why I couldn't do that. Okay, that's a bit small. That kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, that might actually be a little bit big. So maybe make that 35, and we're ready to go again. Cool. Okay, so the other thing that I need to do is I want the timer to start right here. So I'm going to have to use code to tell it to do that, but for the time being, I'm just going to write in labels, and right here I'm going to put a keyframe, and I'm going to call this start timer. Okay, so that's where that would go. All right, very good. All right, at this point, let's just leave the timer alone for a moment. We've done a little bit of the coding, and let's come back and do some more of the graphics. So I'm going to come up to another frame. I'm going to choose black as my stroke, white as my fill. I'm going to grab the rectangle, and I'll give it a curvature of, say, I'll try 25, and I'll see what that looks like. Stroke of 4, let's say, and let's see what happens if I come out here and I draw this, you know, something like that. I think I want to come up, and I might even do, well, no, that's good for the moment. Now I'm going to edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and I'm going to bring this in like that, and that way, and get it, you know, as even as I can, roughly anyhow, and that's fine. I can leave that for the moment. I'm going to fill that outside there with black, and I'm not going to need this part because it's going to be essentially behind here, and I'll have two of them. And you know, I can see if I can move that out a little bit. So it's going to be something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert that to a symbol. I'll call that left side. And I'll make another one. And I'm just going to flip it. Move it out. And it might be a little tricky to get it to the exact. So what I could do is I can use this dot here. Let's say it goes right to the edge, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, let's say. And I can do that on this side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's one thing you could do. So I've got the two sides here. It might not be important to have them on separate layers, but I'll do that for the time being anyhow. So I got that, and let's see if I can, nope, that's not what I wanted to be doing. There we go, sort of centered like that. Okay, cool. What I want to do is, I think I'll go into this side here, and this is going to be the body of that side. I want to create some bolts, and so I'm going to use a stroke of 2. We'll try 2, and we'll come in here. Actually, I'll do it right there. I want them to be pretty small. I don't know, bolt, screw, whatever. I'll call it bolt just to be different. And I think for this one, I want to just, let's see if I can just put a dot like this. Won't always do a nice circular shape. That might be good enough. No, that's not what I want. I'm changing something here. What I want is, I want to fill this with black, and that I'm going to try as white. We'll see what that one looks like. Okay, actually I can make that bigger, so what I'll do is I'll actually draw a white circle in there instead. Yeah. Let's see if that looks big enough. Yeah, because I just want a small fleck of color as my bolt. I don't actually like that. Okay, I might just leave it like that. And it's debatable. I might actually want to have a really thin, maybe not hairline, but a really thin stroke around it like that, and see what that looks like. Well, I'm going to give it a try anyhow. I'm going to pull this up to not there, actually, this time. I'm going to put them down here, and it's not going to be that big. Yeah, I think I'm going to like it like that. I'm going to make this smaller. I'll try 75. That may actually even be too big. But let's sort of center it that way, and then go 1, 2, and then edit, copy, edit, paste in place. 1, 2, 1, 2. See how that looks, and then you'll notice I'm getting them on the other side as well. Okay, so they're still a little bit too big, so I'll just modify that. I think I'll go again 75 so that they're just little dots. And I'll do that to all of these. I could go into the symbol and change the size, and that would work fine, but I'm not going to do it that way. There we go. So we got all of them there. So if we look at this, you just see these little dots. So, you know, it gives it a little bit of an industrial look. And I think I'm going to put them on the sides as well there. Let me have a look at let's look at the reference image now. Okay, yeah, I've got them on the sides there. And of course I drew the bolts a little bit different in this tutorial than on the original, but that's what we get with the tutorial. It's kind of interesting. You get some slight differences, maybe even something better. Okay, I am going to call these bolts though. And I'm going to drag one of these, or copy it anyhow, and I'm going to bring it up roughly where that meets the body of the circle. And I'll copy it down there, and we'll just have a look and see if that's positioned well. And they're already done for us on the other side. I think I actually want them a little closer, so I'm going to do that. Try that. And I'm even going to nudge them almost as close as I can go. Yeah, that's good. That's good like that. Okay. So at this point, once again, we got that, and I'll do something about this circle. I'm not crazy about that yet, but we're getting there. That's the idea, right? Okay, so far so good. Let's do something here with the body, and let's add. If I can find a stroke. Yeah, there is a stroke. I want to change that to maybe 2, and let me just try that color and see what that looks like. I might stick with that for the time being and compare it later to the color inside the circle, but that'll give a little bit of depth to it. And we're going to be drawing these side pieces here. I might want to try something a little bit different where it comes out like this and then it slopes down a bit more, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to be creating that and putting a little bolt and then a little shine in the stroke there. So let me just see where I did that on here. I've got the sides, the side menus. That's what I did it. So I did a separate layer. I'll do it on top for the time being. Black, white is fine. I'll use the rectangle, 25. Let me see what happens if I start drawing something out like that with, let's say, 4 for that. I start doing that. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place, just so I can make the lip of my... I'm not sure that I need to go to the exact sort of same thickness as there because it's a different interface piece. Let me fill this with black and see how it would look if I just did it in that shape. And underneath there, that might be just fine. However, I am noticing that it does look a little bit unequal thicknesses. So I pull that down there and try filling that with black. I think that looks a little bit better. And let's take that and give it one of the gray colors. That's a bit thick for that, obviously. So I'll go back to 2 for that. And again, I may not be using the exact same shade of gray that I used previously, and I may experiment with that. Now, let me just have a look at what's going on here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this, and let me make sure that it fits behind. Now, yeah, it fits behind fine. I don't even really care what's in behind there. Let's go ahead and call this, oops, what am I doing? Let's select it. Side menu. Just go like that. And maybe I will cut this off. It is rather ugly. And I'll just take a piece of this and I'm going to stretch it down like that. No, maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. Maybe I'll stretch the whole thing down. Just that edge. It doesn't really warp it or anything too much. That's the body of the side menu. And I'm going to put a bolt in there. So I'll grab that bolt. And I just got to see where I want to have that positioned. So let's just come up to the reference diagram. Got it out there. Okay, cool. No problem. We shall put it out there. Okay, so it's looking like that. Now, in that position, I may want to move this down a bit. And I really think I want to use this, the lighter stroke than this. That this stroke color is kind of bugging me. We'll see. I'm not super happy about this curve right here on the inside, but it may not be a problem. All right, I'm going to draw a line down here. It's in behind. No one is going to see it, but this is going to enable me to select that part and actually make some changes to it. All right, so just like the example up here, I'm going to color this one in a blue color. I'm just going to choose any kind of blue I want. And it looks something like that. Now you can start to see that stroke, and you can make a decision about that. And again, I may find that this really doesn't look the way I want it to. Maybe I do want that darker stroke, and maybe I only want it one. Let's try that. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, and just for the fun of it, we'll show you what one looks like. That actually probably looks the best. Okay. It is actually possible, though, that I have to come up just a tiny bit. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into this, the body and the bolt. I'll come up here, and I'm going to do a little sort of shine-like thing. I'll just do it there. Get rid of my stroke. Just fill at... we'll try 15% for the time being. And I'm just going to draw an ellipse, not too big, just something like that. And I'm going to tilt it a bit, just like that. Put it there. And that's how that top piece is going to look. All right, and obviously there'll be some text in there as well. And I'm just going to be copying these over. All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll do a layer of text, and this is going to be called 5-second. Oh, can't see it, so I probably spelled stuff wrong. That's okay. See what that looks like. Okay, we'll just play around with the position until we have something that we like. That's not too bad. I might want it in black, though. I think I do. Okay, cool. I like that. Yeah. All right, so that's all of that. So that's a side menu piece right there. And so what I think I'll do is I'm just going to copy this right onto the same layer. Modify, transform horizontally. And I'm just going to move this over to this side. I'm going to rename it so that I can play around with that as well. So it's just after the quiz, after the Z, a little bit more. Actually, the edge of the Z is right at the bolt. So the edge of the Z is roughly at the bolt. That's pretty good. So I'm going to call this side menu. I'm just going to call it side menu 2. And I'll go into this, and I'm going to grab this text, and I'm going to flip it horizontally. So that's good. And I'm actually going to call this, let's do hormones. Okay, so instead of the same one that I did before, This one would say hormones. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure this is roughly centered in that space, because this is a different word. So this one's going to say hormones, and I want to move it over a little bit to the right. That's probably pretty close. Okay, and I can change the color of this one, so I can make this, you know, like an orange color. Let's say something like that. See what that looks like, so we can get some different colors going. Now, what did I use for this one? Oh, I used a nice dark orange. Yeah, maybe I want that. That might be the same orange, or maybe it was this one. Yeah, I think it was that one. It's a little bolder. Cool. All right. And what we'll do is we will take these side menus. I'll take both of them, and I'll copy and paste them in place. I think I do have to flip them vertically in order to get that bolts. Oh, did I only get one of them somehow? Let's see how far that text is from the bottom. Yeah, that's probably pretty darn close. Actually, let's do that, and let's grab the other one. Weird. Let me just double check that I don't have two of them there. Okay. Do that one separately. Bring it down and not go too crazy here. How much space have I got? That's probably it. Something like that. Okay, cool. Well, this was 2. I'll call this one 3. Doesn't matter. Side menu 3. I'm going to come into here, and we'll grab the text. And I'll adjust the positioning. And in here, I want to write the word answer. And I realize that that's not where I'm going to have to write it, because it's going to be blocked by the side panel above it. I just want to double check that that's going to say answer. Now, this I'm seeing in my original, I'm writing these in caps, and I might prefer that. We're going to see. Now, if I put it there, let me just see if the word comes through underneath. Yeah, I'm almost balanced. Let me try that. No, it's got to come some more. Not too much now. Let's try that. Let's change the color to maybe yellow. Or what about that? What does that look like? Wow. Maybe not that color. Maybe yellow, which might be just as hard on the eyes. What did I do up here? Oh, this is the green one. The other one's the yellow one. Yeah, I'll stick with it. All right. Okay, so we'd have green there. And this one over here, side menu 4. You know, it's almost in the right position. I probably shouldn't have messed with it before. Okay, and this is going to say question right here. And positioned relatively nicely. I'll make this one. Try that sort of goldish yellow. Okay. And so I think maybe I will go back though and make them all caps, and I'll look at the font size as well. Make sure that's a good font size. So let's come back in here. and in here. There you go. That's what it's looking like so far. Sure, that's fine. I like that. Let's do a couple of other design elements. Let's zoom out a bit and make the background this sort of medium gray here. And let's put some shadows. I believe I just put that on the root underneath everything. I'll forget about my reference image, but let's just choose black and draw some shadows for this as if it's sitting on the ground. I'll do one there and there, and I think I'll take this shadow and I'll paste it in place and I'll bring it over to this side. Yeah. Yeah, okay, like that. And I'll also do a shadow like this. No, not quite like that. You know, for that, let me see how I did it for that top one. Yeah, I just did it, just did whatever. All right. I'm just trying different things. Wondering if it would look any good like that or if that would look unreal. Yeah, that would look unreal. Okay, I'm just going to grab that and bring it over here. I'll call these shadows. Lock that layer. Let's have a look at what we got so far. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. If I make these colors a little darker, we'll be able to see that shine a little better, and I think I would actually prefer that. This is a personal thing. I might try that color. And this one, I might actually, I don't know. Might actually go for that yellow. Wow, no. Now let's try something completely different. Let's go for a real different color. That one always looks good with a shine, okay? It's not the same as the original one, but I do actually like that quite a bit. Okay, so that's what we have so far, and it's looking pretty good, if you ask me. So we're getting ready to start really coding this thing. I'll just look and see if there's any more design elements that we have to put in here. All right. All right, at this point, I'm going to start doing some more coding here. And so when we start this, I want to click this and I want it to do that. But if I click it again, it's just going to repeat the same thing. At this point, when it's large like that, I want to be able to click this and start the question and the timer. And so the coding that I'm going to use, I want it to go away after I do it one time. I want to be able to do something else here. And so the way I'm going to deal with that is I'm going to come to the circle and I'm going to go into the circle. Am I going to do that, or am I going to do it on the root? I'm going to do it on the root. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and for the time being, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to actually create a zone here, around here. It doesn't matter how I do it. I'll make a little circle. Roughly the same size as that. I'll put it right in the middle over top of that. And I'm going to call this a go zone. Like that. So there it is. I'm going to turn this to 0 transparency. And now you can't see it, right? So if I was to click on that, that is what's going to trigger the animation of that thing spinning and getting bigger. But I want that to go away as soon as I press on that. So that's the go zone right there. So I'm going to create an actions layer and put a stop in here, just like that. And I'm going to drag this out to a second frame and blank keyframes. So once I click on it, it's not going to replay again. Now, I just want to double check that I called that's the circle and that's the timer. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to code this now, and I'm going to say on press, change my keyboard characters, on press root.circle.timer.go to and play frame 2. All right, and I also want to say this.go to and stop 2, and that's going to bring this to the second frame of the animation here where it disappears and that zone is gone, and it should play the timer if I did the code right, and it does. And as you can see, I can't click again. So I come in here, I click on it, and it sets that up, and I'm in good shape. Now I will then need another zone so I can start the timer. So I'm going to come up here because I'm going to be doing some coding on this root timeline. I'm going to set up an actions layer and go stop like that. So nothing's changed. So we're just like that. And now I'm going to have to get the timer to go. And the way that I do that is using some other stuff here. The other thing we're going to need to do is to after that first animation plays, and I do this, and I can't click on it anymore, I actually want to bring this whole file to the second frame here and create another frame. And this is where I'm going to start the quiz. I'm going to want it to go to the second frame, and then I can put a new sort of hit zone to start the timer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the circle here and into the timer, and where it stops right here on frame 17, I'm going to say root.go to and stop frame 2. All right, and that is where it's going to stop. And on that frame 2, create a new layer right here, I'm going to create I think I called it question zone. Let me see. Go zone questions. So what I call this, go zone start. All right, we'll do that. Go zone start. All right, and that's where I click there. And this I'm going to call go zone questions. And that is going to be a large circle. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this one to start with, and I'll center that. So that's just a blank symbol right now. I'm going to drag this out to what I think is the approximate size of that circle there. It doesn't have to be the exact size. Right there. And that's where I'm going to be putting on some code here, this go zone questions. All right, and it starts in the second frame. You can see I've got a bunch of them. And this is the code that I've got. When I press that, the timer is going to start. The root is going to go to the next frame, and I'm going to get rid of that, and I'll show you why I do that in a moment. All right, so I want timer, the root, and get rid of it. So this I actually have to duplicate it. And actually, no, I don't. I don't have to do that. So let's do this. I'm going to say on press root.circle.timer.go to and play start timers, I believe what I called it, and we'll double check that. That'll start the timer. Root.go to and stop on frame 3. We'll explain why in a minute. And this dot go to and stop, oops, 2. So that you can't press it repeatedly. Now, before I test this, I'm going to go to frame 3, and on frame 3, this is where I start my questions and answers. I've got them in the same file. In fact, if I come in here and I show you that, or in the same symbol really, if I come in here, you'll see I've got in the first frame the question, and in the second frame the question stays and the answer shows up. So I'm going to go ahead and create that, all right, in the third frame. So I'm going to come up to my third frame here, drag this stomp along, come up, call this questions, answers. Once the main coding is done, it'll start moving along pretty quick. I'm going to put a keyframe right there. I want it to show up only in the third frame. And I'm going to start to do some work here. So let's just give it a try. Let's call this question 1. And this is about hormones, right? So let's try something like this. Let's say, now remember, there's 5 seconds to read this question and answer it, so it's got to be relatively quick. So we'll say something like, let's say, how about gland that produces insulin. We'll start with that. Now I'm going to make this part red. And that's not what I want to do. I constantly am doing that. I want to just sort of center it and make it nice and large. Okay, I can always adjust that later, but let's go ahead and convert that to a symbol. I'm just going to call it Q1. And we'll come into that. And this is the question. I'll make an actions layer. Stop. Drag that over. And I'm also going to do an answer. And that's only going to show up in this frame here. But I want that question to stay, so I'll just extend that one. And what I'll do is I'm actually going to take this and drag it down there. And then I'm going to move it over. Like this. Okay, I'll position that in a bit. And I am going to say like that. No, that's not what I wanted. Like that. I'll make it a bit smaller. I want to center that. And we're going to use this as the framework for all of them. So I'll just be able to modify this one. So let's just make this, say, 40. But I have to make sure there's enough room in case I have longer answers. Well, I'll start with that. I can always go back. And I'm going to make that red. So there's the question. There's the answer. Okay, now we're getting there. So let's see. We could potentially give this a try. Let's see what happens if we do this. Press that, go. If I press it again, it should start the timer. And stop. Some stuff is working. Okay, so we have some work to do. Funny enough, one thing I'm seeing is that I must have dragged the question off of there. And I want to copy this to there so that in that frame the question shows, and in that frame, where did my answer go? All right, well. There we go. I feel like I'm doing this again. It's the second time. Well, something crazy happened. There's the question, and here we'll have just the answer here. Pancreas. Yeah, that might be a little bit too big, actually. Do it more, a little bit like that. Okay, so hopefully now the question will show as I click this. Okay, so we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. Now, we need to come into the timer here. And first of all, we need to put a stop here at the very end. So we'll do that. And at this point, I'm also going to say, I will show you what I want to get at here. I want to say at the very end of that, time up is true. Okay, so I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second here. So I'm going to come in here and start a variable, and I'm going to say time up equals true. So the time has been used up. And I am going to say, in order to reveal the answer, I want to reveal the answer after 5 seconds. So I'll come over to here, and I'm going to say on clip event enter frame, if root.circle.timer.timeUp equals true, and you have to put 2 equal signs, this dot go to and stop 2. Now, what this is saying is, if the timer has done its thing and reached the point where it says the time up is true, then go to frame 2 of this. Frame 2 of this is the answer, so it should show the answer. Let's give it a try and see if we've made any mistakes. 3, 2, 1, bang. Excellent. Okay, we've got this. It's stopped there. We now see the answer, and we're going to be getting ready to go again. Obviously, we're going to need to be able to click this again and go on to the next question. So it's coming along. All right, well, we'll just move along, and we'll get set for another question, and we'll see how we can code everything. So we'll create another frame here, and I'm going to drag this stop over here, and I'm going to create a new one there. Now, we are going to need new instances of this go zone question spot, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I'll just go ahead and I'll do another question first, and we'll see the intricacies of this. I'm going to call this question 2, and I'm going to come into it, and I'm going to modify this one. Question 2. I'll just stick with this kind of thing. Gland that produces, how about TSH? All right, that's thyroid stimulating hormone. And the answer to that is the anterior pituitary. All right, and this is where pituitary, and this is where we'll have to make some adjustments. And so we'll do that. Now, I can change the line spacing to make this fit better. And we're going to give it a try, and we'll see if that's going to look okay. So the question will be there, and then there's the answer. Okay. Now, that is on frame 4, that question. We have to get to frame 4. So what we'll do is we'll come down to the go zone. That was the original thing we clicked when the circle was big. This one told us to start the timer and move to frame 3 to display the question. So we're going to do this here. Start the timer, move to frame 4, and do that. And let's see if we just play this, if there's a problem. And there is a problem. Everything's cool here. Start that. Now, you'll notice I can click that right away. And then we've already moved to question 2. We didn't even display question 1 all the way. Now I'll do it again. Okay, watch this. Okay, now, question 1. If I click that again, I'm already on question 2. I only want to be able to move to the next question once the timer has counted down to 0. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to do something like this. In the actions layer, I'm going to say root.circle.timeUp is false. I'm going to start it as false. Circle timeUp is false. So I'll show you what I mean. When the first question starts, which is in frame 3, I'm going to say initially root.circle.timer.timeUp equals 1 equals sign, unless you're in brackets, then it's 2, equals false. And as the thing runs at the end of the timer, it will then say timer's true. I'm going to come over here and I'm also going to say root.circle.timer. Am I doing this? Timeout equals false. I'm going to say it there. Now, let me see. Did I get an error there? Here's the first question. Okay, so I need more. And what we do here is, let's check out that thing. I said, if the timer timeUp is true, do that. So let me double check that I've got some of that stuff here. No, so I don't have that yet. Okay. So I need to make an adjustment to this code, and I need to do it this way. All right, so I'll show you what I mean. Right now, it just says on press, start the timer. But if I'm displaying question 1, while the timer's going, I can easily press it because I've got the zone here. All right, if it goes to frame 3 to display the question, I've got the zone ready to go to frame 4. I only want that zone to be active if the timer has gone to the end. All right, so I want to say this. If the timer timeUp is true, that means it's played through, then go ahead and do all this. All right, so in other words, if I'm on frame 3 and it's going through its countdown, I don't want to be able to click on that and go to the next one until the timeUp is true. Then I can press it and it will start a new countdown. So I'm going to change the code right here. Now, do I need it on the first one? That's the question. Well, we'll see. I didn't have it on the first one because this is the first time we're loading the questions. So I don't need it here, but I do need it on this next one. Okay, so I'm going to say it like this. On press, if root.circle.timer.timeUp equals true, 2 equal signs because we're in brackets, then we're going to do all this stuff. Okay, let's check that. That's right. Okay. So let's give it a try. I do that. Now, I'm going to press this, load the first question. I'm trying to press it. It's not bringing me to the second question yet. At this point, I can go on. So I need to say that each time. All right? put a keyframe in here and get ready for the next one. Let's go ahead and drop this down. We're doing pretty good because we are just about done the coding. Let me double check what's in my actions layer. So I've got time up is false. I'm starting it up as time up is false. Let's go ahead and make a question here. All right. I'm going to duplicate this one and call it question 3. All right. I'll come into it. Question 3. Let's say this. Hormone that reduces blood calcium levels. I'll move the whole thing up a little bit. Make sure that we can still see that. I might have to adjust the the line spacing, something like that. We'll try that. Okay. I'll come over here. The hormone reduces calcitonin. I'll move this down, roughly centered. That's great. All the code has been set up for us pretty much. And so we can go ahead and try that. We should be able to go a little distance. So ready to play, everyone? Okay. First question, gland that produces insulin. What is it? Yell it out. The pancreas. Ready to go for the next one. Gland that produces TSH. That should be the anterior pituitary. Let's see. Yes. Now, can we get to the next one? Okay, we have an issue here. Okay, we can't go on to the next one, and that is because, let us check this. This is saying this one here that loads question 2 says go to frame 4, which is frame 4. That's where question 2 is. This one, we need to change this to say go to frame 5, and then we should be able to do it, I think. Can't click on it beforehand. Can't speed through this. Pancreas. Okay, can't switch through this. Got to do question 2. Okay, there we go. Now we're on to question 3. Hormone that reduces blood calcium levels, calcitonin. Yes, and that's basically what you do. You just keep it going, keep repeating like that. So I'll do another one, and then maybe we'll end the game at that point. Okay, so I'm going to repeat. I'm going to do another question there. Okay, this is going to be question 3. So duplicate Q4, come into it. Oh, I didn't get in there. Just like this. Question 4. I'll do another one. Hormone that increases water reabsorption. Okay, and that's going to be ADH. Just use the abbreviation, antidiuretic hormone. Okay, water reabsorption. Cool. So in order to get to that frame, I better make sure I'm doing this. I'll drag that one across. That's our question zone. And I will change this to say frame 6. And then the problem with this is you have to go from the very beginning. You can't skip anything. Okay, start. Pancreas. Okay, maybe you want to have this moved up so it looks a little bit more central. I mean, you can do all kinds of design elements at this point once it works for you. Great. Hormone reduces blood calcium levels. Calcitonin. Check. Next one. Hormone that increases water reabsorption. ADH. Great. Okay. And this is really how we're going to end the game too, so you can't do anything else. So I'll go for one more. I'll do one more question for you. Actually, no, I'll do the end of game thing. Oops. All right. So at this point, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm just going to call it question 5, and I'll come in. Say and this. And finally, make that red. Now, I'll just have to adjust that position a bit. This is the end. Okay, so it could be like that. I can lock these up. So we need the go zone for the questions to bring us to that frame, which is 7. So we're going to say go to frame 7. And we don't have to put anything here. And that way they can't click on anything to, you know, play the same question again. So you ready? On your marks, get set, go. And you would do that. Pancreas. Anterior pituitary. Question 3. Calcitonin. Question 4. That one. Okay, we should be coming to, and finally, this is, what is it? What is it? Can't click on anything. The end. Can't click on anything, and the whole thing is done. You can make a replay button. You could convert this to say play again. I'll just do a quick button and put it up here, and then I want to show you one more thing. All right, so make it white, black, rectangle, 4, maybe 3 down there, and I'll just come down here, I'll do this kind of thing, and I'll say replay button. I'll name the layer replay button. I'll come back in here, and maybe I'll do that inset thing I love to do. I'll copy this, I'll paste it on another layer, I'll make it this light gray color and drag it down, and I'll expand it a bit. Oops, maybe not too much though. Up like this, something like that. I think I want to get rid of this stroke though. I just think it looks kind of nicer. Oh, and I want to get rid of this stroke as well, but not the whole thing, just the stroke, just like that. And I'll put some text on here. Let's try that. Try something like that, okay? And we'll make this a depressible button. Actions layer. Stop. Oops. That's certainly not what we want. We want that and another frame so we can animate this. And I believe I want just these 2 layers. There's my button right there and the text. Modify, transform, scale, and rotate. We'll go for 90. It might be a bit much, but that's okay. So there we go. And we'll say for this, on press, we'll say this dot go to and stop frame 2 of its animation. But on release, we're going to say that's going to go back to frame 1, but we're also going to say root dot circle dot, I think that's what it was, go to and stop 1. And see if that's enough. But I also want to add to this an on release outside. I don't know if you've seen this in my other videos. In fact, I'll show you without that first. I want to show you a problem that happens if you don't have that. Okay, so let me just see if that brings everything back. Okay, that didn't. So I'm using the wrong instance name. So let me check that out. It's a very common thing. So that's circle and then timer. I got to include that. So let's come back to my button. root.circle.timer .go to and stop one. Let's try that. There. Boom. Okay, so what if you were into, one of the questions? Okay, now that'll bring that back. We are also going to have to say, let's try this, root.go to and stop one as well. So we're off of any of the questions to see if that works for us. Let me go ahead. So that's actually frame 3, I believe, on the root timeline. And I'll do that. Yeah, that brings us right back to the very beginning of the game. And I seem to not be able to re-click that to restart. So we're going to look at why that is the case. So give me a second to check that out. Okay, got it figured out. It's a simple thing. I mean, if you look at this, I click on here and I start the game and I hit the replay button. I can't re-click on the go zone button. And the reason is because this go zone button, start button, it has 2 frames. And as soon as you click it once, right, this .go to and stop 2, it goes to the second frame. And in the second frame, there's nothing. And so the zone that you need to click on is gone once you press it once. So even if you reset to 0, it's been pressed and it's sitting there on frame 2. So a simple way of doing this is just, you're going to have to give it an instance name to call it something. So you can refer to it in code, do that. And then I can just come over to my replay button in here. And somewhere in this on release, maybe under here, I'll just go root.go zone.go to and stop and reset it to frame 1. So it's ready to go again, because once you clicked it once, it was on frame 2 and it stayed there. I got to tell Flash to reset it to frame 1. All right, so here we go. Play the game. Hit replay anytime you want. I'm ready to go again. I can play again. Okay, so that's basically how this whole thing goes. And I just wanted to show you that. First of all, we'll have a look at the size of this thing. So let's do that. Let's export this. And I'll put it on my desktop. And this is 5-second quiz tutorial. I don't want anything compressed. We export it, and let's have a look at that 5-second quiz tutorial. Okay, and then of course I like to do that so it's nice and big, right? Looks really cool. You can display that for your students. This button doesn't have to be that big. There, you can add sounds. When that hits the 0, you can do a sound. You're ready to go to the next one, and if you need to replay the game, you're all set there. Now, how big is this? 120K. All right, and as you add more questions to it, it's going to be nothing. All right, it's first of all, you're probably running it locally on your machine, projecting it to your class, so it doesn't matter how big it is, and that's not very big. But if you wanted to, I'll just save this again as tutorial 2. If you wanted to make another one for another class, you can just quickly come in here to the questions and answers and just make your changes right here. And I will do number of electrons in carbon. See if that can fit there. Okay, number of electrons in carbon. I come over here, and what's the number of electrons in carbon? 12. Okay, let's do that, and let's make another one. Just really making that really simple. Chemical symbol for I don't know, neon. And over here, maybe that was too simple. N small e. I'll do one more. It's very quick, right? Number of valence electrons in nitrogen. Atomic number 7, 2 in the first, so it's going to be 5. Okay, whether you want to write 5 or write the word 5. Bang, done. Check it out. Press go. All right, you got a different quiz. Number of electrons in carbon, they yell it out. 6, 12. Okay, good. Chemical symbol for neon. You know, and keep in mind, again, if you, save this and export it, here I'll just write over that, and then you project this full screen, right? If you think that text is a little bit small, it's bigger there, okay? It's definitely readable. All right, so that's how you make the 5-second quiz. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you for watching.